we're talking about giving our power away. And as you know, we come down to the earth experience for opportunities of soul growth. We actually choose each of these experiences. We choose most of the people who will be in our lives and the roles they'll play. We choose challenges that we will face. And as you know, we don't learn when everything is going our way. I mean, we like those times. Those are great times. But we're not learning anything. And that's why we're here, is for the growth of the soul. We do learn when we're being challenged, when things don't go our way, when we have to wear masks and go through other challenges that we're facing with the virus. But it helps us, it helps us to become stronger spiritually. One of the things we kind of inherently want to do as a child, we want to please our authority figures that are around us. Those would be our parents or teachers as we get into elementary school, grandparents if they're around. It's just something that's inherent in all of us. We want to do a good job. We want to be validated. So what happens, we oftentimes will carry that desire into our teenage years. And for most of us, sometime in our mid-teens, we start to exert independence and we start to evaluate. It's the age of reason. I think it's around 12 or 13. We start to evaluate, do I really want to please everyone around me, and why am I doing that? I think there is a common desire to be accepted by our peers and by those that are in our environment. And with many teenagers, we start to separate and separate from that desire to follow our parents' instructions and their guidance. And sometimes our belief systems tell us that that's what usually happens with teenagers. I believe that that's what's happened. That's what is happening to us as we are spiritually developing. We're starting to take a presence of who we are and also what we're here to accomplish. I believe also that kind of an analogy, when we're born, we're given a 1,000-piece puzzle, and it's our journey throughout our lifetime to put it together. The challenge is we don't have a picture of what it looks like on the cover of the box. We can find the end pieces, we can find the corner pieces, and then we start grouping pieces together by images and by colors and by designs on the puzzle pieces. But we don't see what it's going to look like until we're totally done. And when it's totally done, that picture is telling us who we are and why we're here. Many times when we get into our 20s and we start to interact with other people, and we start to find partners and develop close friendships and businesses that we choose, to be employed by, we want to please those individuals. We want to accommodate what their interests are, and it's a matter of finding our way in terms of what's expected of me and what am I capable of providing. But one of the great challenges, and many of us, we choose life lessons for this experience. I call it going to the life lesson cafeteria there in the spirit world. We're moving our tray along the shelving, and we see something, and we say, oh, I'd like one of those, and oh, I'd like to experience this, and is that Jell-O over there? There's always room for Jell-O. And we get to the end of the line, and we have a lot of things that we've chosen to experience. Sometimes we choose too much. We find ourselves overwhelmed. Other times we choose challenges, and life lessons come in many different forms. Some life lessons have to do with having great wealth. some having no wealth, others having physical challenges with the physical body. Some are culturally, and there's a whole gamut of experiences that we can choose. But I think one of the basic ones is giving our power away. And we find that when, say, in relationships with spouses or partners, many times our partner will not like or be interested in the subject we are interested in. I remember when I was married, I didn't care for the opera, but my former wife really liked the opera, and so I would go to accommodate her, and it wasn't any big sacrifice, not a big deal. I thought that I may develop an interest in it, but I never did. But I remember also coming to a point of saying, I don't want to do that. I don't want to experience that. And we have many different ways that we give our power away. And one question I'd like to ask individuals that I meet with or counsel, I'll say, how do you validate yourself? How do you determine if you're doing a good job in this lifetime in whatever category you choose? Whether it is in your relationship with others, the kindness that you express, the job that you do, the relationships that you have. How do you determine if you're doing a good job or not? And when I ask that question, most people don't have an answer except to say, well, that's a very good question. And I let them think about it. Certainly it's there, it's an opportunity for learning. But how do we validate ourselves? A lot of us validate ourselves by what other people think of us. And we look to see if they're giving us a certain body language or a certain feedback with their words or with their actions. And then sometimes we'll feel bad because we're not pleasing those individuals that we feel are important in our lives. In reality, the only one who can validate how we as individuals are doing in this lifetime is us. And one thing we need to keep in mind, the earth is not a place of perfection. It is a place of imperfection. It is like a classroom, and it was set up so perfection would not exist here. It exists in the spirit world, the spirit realm, but it does not exist here. And if you look at a lot of our culture, a lot of our movies, and again, we can say this because in our generation, we've had a lot of television, a lot of movies. 100 years ago, they didn't have that. But we see these stories of, I remember in the 60s, the programs where the father would come to the dinner table dressed in a coat and tie. I thought, oh my God, why would someone do that? I have trouble wearing shoes to the dinner table. But always, the story has always turned out, the good always triumphed over not good. The good guy always won out, even though there were times when it didn't look like it was heading in that direction. And that's how I think part of our belief systems have helped to shape us is, the media that we and all of us here that have taken in our lifetimes. And we have this idea that, injustice, justice for all, good always triumphs over evil. And in reality, there is spiritual law that comes from the manifestation of God, of prime source. And ultimately, everything does balance out. But it doesn't always balance out in the way we expect it to, or the way we feel it should. Justice and truth take on many different faces. But for us, what's important is to know that everything in our lives is in divine order in some way or another. Sometimes we have to understand when we don't understand. Sometimes we have to just do the best we can, keep our chin up, and keep moving forward. You know, there's another way that we give our power away, and I had a spiritual teacher say to me a couple months ago, "Don't give your power to the virus." And I have thought about that. You know, it's kind of interesting. Here's a little microscopic organism that can take down a 200-pound man or woman. A little tiny virus can cause, you know, tremendous havoc in the physical body. And I think a lot of people, and you can look around and see that a lot of people are living in tremendous fear of the virus. My teacher said to me, wear your mask when you're in public. Keep your distance when you're in public. You know, wash your hands on a regular basis, but don't give your power to the virus. And what he was saying was, don't give your power to fear. Because ironically, and you know, it's interesting, you think about the way that this world was created and we as beings in it. We have a lot of control here. We have a lot of input. You know, many spiritual teachers talk about us being co-creators with God. We are. We are co-creators with God. And I think a lot of people do not realize how powerful their minds are, how powerful their thoughts are, and how powerful their words are. So we've got to be careful about that. I know some individuals that don't want to leave their home because they're fearful they're going to contract the virus. Well, you know, we don't want to, certainly we don't want to contract it, but we don't want to live our lives in a state of fear either. You know, fear is a very interesting emotion. Fear doesn't create anything but more of its own. And we can run into many psychological challenges that are a result of someone who is focusing on fear and afraid to do anything else. Not only afraid to leave their homes, they're afraid to interact with other people, even being on the phone. You know, the phone's not going to create the virus. I see some, I want to be careful here. I see some people that are washing their groceries when they get them home, groceries in boxes. Well, the virus doesn't have a history of existing, you know, too long outside of the physical body. We want to be careful as we're moving along. You think about this, giving our power away to others. It helps to limit us whenever we do that. And I'm not talking about just the virus, I'm talking about other things, trying to get people's approval. It limits us, it limits our ability to grow. And one thing that we can be assured of is that each of us is an individual son or daughter of God. I remember my father-in-law, Bill Needham. He liked to do needlepoint. It was very unusual to meet a man who liked to do needlepoint, but he did. And I remember one that he did, a needlepoint. It was kind of a design. And he said, on me, I'm wonderful because God doesn't make junk. And I thought about that. I said, that's really pretty cool. And no matter what, you know, we choose, we have a lot of choice in our physical vehicles, these earth suits that we find ourselves needing to have in order to have an experience on the earth. But many times we'll find ourselves feeling validated by how we look, whether we're underweight or overweight or tall or short or balding. I remember sitting at breakfast one morning, this was many years ago, and my two daughters were there at the table and my wife, and I said, you know, this morning when I was getting dressed, I could look through my hair. And my youngest daughter, and I think she was about 6, she said, oh, we've been doing that for several years now. The earth suit is not who we are. We're the soul within the suit. We're the soul having an experience of life. I remember a spiritual teacher saying, and this was, I attended classes that spirit teachers taught for 40 years, a long time. And I remember the nice thing about those classes was that we could ask any question that we wanted to. Generally we didn't ask personal questions, but we could ask any general question that would benefit other people. And I said to this one teacher that came in, her name was White Lily. I said, do we make a soul's plan? Do we make a plan for each lifetime that we want to encourage and to have? And she said yes. And I said, do we write our departure into the plan? She said yes. I said, how often does it come true? And she said, about 70% of the time it comes true according to the plan. She said 30% of the time individuals leave early because of lifestyle choices. Now this is, whether they've abused alcohol or drugs or driven recklessly or things of that nature. And I thought, well, that is really something. We can do this plan, and the plan is what we're following while we're here on the earth. And we have those opportunities to be tested and to be tried. I had a friend, she was our organist at the church for 15 years. The first 15 years I was there at the Sarasota church. Her name is Susan Jensen. She's in the spirit realm now. And she had many challenges that she dealt with. She got divorced and she had a problem with one of her children. She also got cancer. But each time that she was faced with a challenge, she would say, there's a lesson here for me to learn. There's something that I need to learn through this experience. She never took the role on of being a victim, never. She always had a smile on her face, and she's just a wonderful person, a delightful individual. So I think about that, our experience here, and one of these teachers that I was talking to in these classes, they were talking about after we finish our lifetime here. Now, as most people know, heaven and hell are states of mind that we experience during this earth experience, earth expression. They're not places we go to be rewarded or punished for our behavior. And this teacher said, once you make the transition and you finish the reunions, there are a lot of people that want to meet with us and have reunions and have dinners and banquets. And even though we're energy beings, we don't need to eat. We do eat if we want to, because it's a social experience. It's a way that we can, interact with other people. And he said, after the reunions, you sit down with a council of higher beings that guides your soul group. There's 144 individuals in a soul group. And he said, you're asked two questions about the life you just finished. One, what did you learn? Two, how much did you love? And essentially, you can imagine if those are the questions that we're being asked about a lifetime, that has a lot to do with the purpose of coming here and having this experience. We can validate ourselves by saying that we are individuals, sons and daughters of the divine power. We have within us energetically a spiritual body. It's makes up part of the soul. And that is the divine power that comes from God. So there's nothing about God that we would have a right to criticize. So why would we ever want to criticize ourselves? There's no reason to. It's not a matter, as I said, it's not a matter of how we look, any physical characteristics. That's just the earth suit. It's like an automobile that we happen to hop into. You know, there's a big difference between an SUV and a Volkswagen. No offense, anybody who drives Volkswagens. I think Heidi may drive a Volkswagen, I'm not sure, but it's not who we are. We want to validate ourselves by what good did we do today that we weren't able to do yesterday? What thoughts did I have today that were constructive and positive and beneficial? What did I contribute to the overall energies of this planet and the energies of the area in which I work and live and have my being? That's how we validate ourselves. We validate, and we're the only ones that can do it. You know, I like one of the sayings of the Master Jesus, judge not lest ye be judged. We're not able to judge another person. We haven't walked in their shoes. Now, there's some people that have some very interesting behavioral patterns that are fun to watch. But we don't have a right to judge them. We don't have a right to judge them. And one of the other things we want to keep in mind, that there is a series of spiritual laws, just like the physical laws are physical laws of God. You know, we're very familiar with the law of gravity and the law of centrifugal force, and you'll see even the law of attraction that happens with animals. Most animals are attracted to other animals of their species, unless they're the symbiotic relationship. But the basic attraction is to others of their own. We need to keep in mind that spiritual law is always in effect. Reaping and sowing, you know, that was another thing that Jesus talked about. As we sow, so we reap. As we think, so are we. This experience can be wonderful. It can also be miserable. We need to keep in mind, not every day is going to be wonderful. There are going to be days that we aren't going to feel up to speed. There are going to be days that we're being challenged, again, not getting our way. But we want to just say, well, this day will pass and tomorrow will be better. Tomorrow will be a day filled with opportunity in which to enrich myself and to help enrich others as they're following their path. When you think about it, the complexity of all of life on this planet, it shows tremendous intelligence. Tremendous intelligence in the way that everything works together. Even the physical body is that there's been no organism, there are no machine that's been able to be developed that's as complex as the physical body is. And it gives us that opportunity to have those lessons in which we can learn. We don't want to give our power away to anyone. It's okay to have differences from other people. That's what makes relationships interesting. We can negotiate, you know, with a partner, with a spouse, with friends. We can negotiate what we're going to do and the experiences we're going to have. And if someone doesn't want to participate, then that's their free will. We want to honor that. We want to respect them. I find it quite interesting, the dynamics that are going on these days. They certainly give us opportunities to not be judgmental. Certainly the movement with the Black Lives Matter. We think about it, I mean, as metaphysicians, we know that the soul has no race, the soul has no skin color, the soul is energy. And we've had many, many, many lifetimes. Whether you believe in reincarnation or not, I do. And, you know, it's up to you. If you choose to believe it, then it's great. If not, then it's your free will. But we want to keep in mind, those of us that do believe in reincarnation, we've had thousands of lifetimes. We've been every race, every color. We've lived on every continent, most countries. And it's all for the opportunity to learn. So we want to be able to look at people and see the light of God and not see a skin color, or not see a form of dress or a form of attire. It's not hard to do. It takes effort, though. It takes effort. The good news is, when we're adding our positive thoughts to the universe, other people pick up on those thoughts. Other people pick up on that energy, and they too can reach down within them to the soul level, and they can be positive. And a kind word, certainly goes a long way. I think most of us serve in the role as being teachers, not only for ourselves, but for other people. And we could be standing in the grocery line waiting to have our groceries added up, and the cashier could say, "How are you doing?" And instead of saying, "Fine, okay, gosh, I hope I get through this day somehow," we can say, "I'm terrific. I couldn't be better. How about you?" I purposely use that phrase as often as I can. Couldn't be better, because it gets some very interesting responses. Let us take with us that ability to be the divine power in action. And it's through being positive. There is nothing to fear. We want to be cautious at the right time, certainly, but there is nothing to fear in this life. There are no demons, there are no devils, there are no monsters out there. None of that. It's just life that is waiting to be interacted with. And the more we interact with it in a positive way, the more positive energies come back to us. Let us think about that and carry with us that light, because we actually are all lights of God. Let us all close our eyes and let us visualize the United States. See a map of the United States and see it lying flat in front of you, like on a table. And let us visualize a white light coming from above, and we can visualize and know that this comes from the divine power, from God. And we see this light, as soon as it comes over the map, it spreads out so that the energy of this light penetrates every person living in this country. That is what we're visualizing. The light of God now penetrating the bodies of every human being within these 50 states. We see this power entering into the top of the head, touching every cell within the brain, slowly moving through the physical body, touching the eyes and the ears and the throat, moving into the shoulders, the neck, coming down into the to the arms and the heart and lungs. This is the power of healing also. So let us see this power of healing coming through us, going through the internal organs and going down through the legs and coming out through our feet. And let us especially see this power as having a positive energy, so that we can release all fear. Not only fear of the virus, but fear of disruption and violence and the lack of tranquility that we see experienced through our media and through the news. What we're doing is we're visualizing the divine power of God coming through every single person. And our intention is that this power will activate within the soul all those qualities that help us to be better individuals: kindness, respect for each other, love, not only love of people that we care about, but love of people we don't know, love of other human beings that we know have that divine power within them, for we are all connected in that way. We see this and we surround each of these individuals with an energy of protection, an energy that will keep out negative thoughts, negative actions, negative abilities that other people try to bring to us. We keep those energies away. And within each individual, we are surrounded by this divine power. It will manifest for us for many weeks to come, and will help to keep us and allow us to exist in a very positive and a beneficial way. We want to send love to those that we don't care for. We want to send love to those we disagree with. We want to send love to those who are behaving in manners that we can't understand. For they are spirits, they are souls also on this journey. They're trying to learn from the experience and find their way. It is not our place to judge them or to make a judgment about them. Let us do this. Let us be in harmony and link with the energies of the divine and know that all things are possible. In the Master's name we pray this. Amen.